So I'm just a little bit into Everneath, and right now my main thought is, hooray, love triangle. However, the fact that it kind of starts out with it is a plus because it's already established that that will be the main thrust of the story, whereas if it had come in later, then I feel like it would have detracted from the story. And I feel like also in this case it makes sense because we have Cole who kind of tricked Nikki and she doesn't really care about him, but he cares about her, and I can understand why she doesn't. And the lore behind this is very interesting as well. And I didn't realize this was supposed to be a Hades and Persephone retelling. So it'll be interesting to see where those kind of elements come in. And so far, the writing is pretty good. I don't feel like it's, too anything. And yeah, so I'm going to read more and let you all know what I think later. So I finished Everneath just a little while ago, and it was definitely a YA love story. There's a lot of kind of melodrama, especially with, Nikki and what happened right before she left. I feel like the whole thing with Drake and the other girl, at football camp, and she just assumed that something had happened and then just immediately ran off. That was definitely a little something that, somebody older probably wouldn't have done that. I mean, they may have seen that happen and then left. Although I do like to think that they'd give, somebody the benefit of the doubt. But then the fact that she then just makes a major life decision based on that. Although I'm not entirely sure that Cole gave her the whole truth as well about what exactly it would mean for her to join in the feed. So, yeah, I'm kind of like 50-50 on that. I did like, too, that I can agree with what one of the reviews that I read that said, Nikki doesn't run away from her responsibility in this. She admits that, yes, she did choose to go with Cole, even though he may have tried to persuade her and everything. In the end, he didn't completely force her. And then I also like the fact that she is trying to repair stuff with her family, and I feel like the family bonds are quite well done. And I do feel like one thing that redeems her choosing to go with Cole is also the fact that on top of everything, she also had to deal with the drunk driver who hit her mother and killed her not being punished. He got off in a court of law. So I could kind of understand there how that would feed into even more of her despair. But yeah, it was an okay read. Definitely, like I said, geared towards YA, which I did know going in, and the love triangle didn't bother me as much because, in all honesty, I didn't feel like there was much competition between, Cole. So, because he wanted her, but Nikki was just like, no, leave me alone. And her physical attraction, she knew exactly what it was. It was the fact that he took her negative emotions, and then the fact that they had been entwined for that 100 years during the feed, and she was able to kind of distance herself from that. So I did like that aspect of it as well, and did think it was better done. The main thing I disliked, though, is I wish there would have been more of the mythology. It was kind of hinted at and teased, but it does seem like this will play a much, much bigger role in the following books and novella. So I'm definitely excited to get into those and see how it adds to the story and see what I think of the whole series overall. So I finished Neverfall, which is the only Everneath novella, and this one centers on Cole, and it kind of switches back and forth between the end of Everneath and then the year before Everneath started. So you get to see his thoughts of when he got Nikki to join the feed with him, and then you get to see kind of what he's been up to in between the two books. And I'm definitely interested to see where this new group comes in, the Delphinians, and it will be interesting, to kind of see that, because it does feel like, in a way, they should have destroyed all of the Delphinians, but I find it hard to believe that they would all gather together after the history we've learned they have. So, yeah, I'm definitely interested to read more than that, and I will be continuing on with the next full-length novel, and I will report back then. So I finished Everbound, and it was alright for the most part, but then that ending just completely elevated it, and I feel like I should have expected Cole to betray Nikki, but at the same time, I really didn't expect what happened to happen, and yeah, just the fact that he tricked her into becoming an ever-living, and yeah, like, what did he expect her reaction would be? She is ready to burn the Everneath down at this point, and yeah, I'm here for it. Like, I really like that, and I found it really interesting, and I'm a little bit worried about what's going on with Jack. She says he's so much bigger than he was when he originally went there. So, why is he growing? If anything, the Everneath should make him shrink. So, yeah, I'm interested to see where that goes. I'm interested to see where this whole series goes. And yeah, I'm glad that it did kind of take this interesting turn, because the first one I was just kind of like okay with. It wasn't great, and I'm not going to say that this is, oh my god, this is the best work of literature ever, but it's a lot more fun, and I feel like it has a much deeper plot, even throughout the whole book. When they're traveling and trying to save Jack, I feel like there's a lot less of the teen angst and a lot more of like the actual high stakes plot. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to go on to book 3, and I will report back. I'm done with Evertrue, which is book 3 in Everneath, and obviously this completes the trilogy. And it was actually pretty good for the most part. I felt like it had a good bit of action, especially considering the end of the last book, when we find out Nikki is now an ever-living, and she's going to bring down the Everneath. This volume had a lot of the action I was expecting. It was all focused on taking down the Everneath. There was romance in there, but of course there's been romance throughout the whole series. I did feel like it was integrated very well, and so I did really like that. I also felt like the love triangle part was integrated really well, and it made sense in this case because of the fact that Cole has to be the one to feed Nikki, and then the fact that she survived the feed and they were there together for 100 years. It just all kind of comes together to make sense instead of just being, they love her for no reason. And so I did really like that part. One thing that did bother me is I felt like the whole, get rid of the queen, get rid of the hearts thing, it all kind of happened really, really easily. Like, Cole just happened to have the helmet of Hermes that they needed. And then when they went to the lake to get the scythe, I felt like that went pretty smoothly. There were a few hitches, but I feel like, it was kind of easy considering the stakes. And it's almost like if it was this easy, why didn't anybody do it before? But other than that, I did enjoy this series. It was an interesting look at mythology, and it blended a lot of different, well, mostly Egyptian and ancient Greek myths. However, the only part that was Egyptian was the 5 parts of the soul, and I wish that would have been explored a little more. But I feel like that's such a small part that not exploring it more isn't a big, huge deal. But I would say if you like YA and you like mythology, this would be a really good series. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about it. I am going to report back on this series. This is the final book in the Lady Janies, My Calamity Jane. And this, of course, is what inspired several of my past readathons, because this is by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, who wrote this series, and Jody Meadows. And you should recognize 2 of those names from previous videos. And then Cynthia Hand, I am getting ready to start Unearthly when I finish some more books. And yeah, I feel like this is going to be a matter of these 3 authors coming together in Lady Janies. I feel like they're going to take each of them the best parts, and it'll just make makes Lady Janie so much better. Now, of course, I haven't read any of Cynthia Hand's books yet, so it may turn out that she's the best author of the 3, and maybe she was the main author of Lady Janies. I don't know, and I'm not going to look it up because I kind of want to be surprised. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get to reading some more books, and I will see you all in my next video.